It's Monday, October 30th. I'm Geoff Schwartz. This is Geoff Schwartz of Smart, and you were live on Twitter and YouTube. Thank you for joining us on your podcast platform of choice. Please give us a rating if you'd like to be so inclined. It's great for the podcast when you can do that. And on Monday, we're brought to you by Prize Picks. It's a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. Go to Prize Picks and use code GSSY for a first deposit match up to $100. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you will project if they go more or less than the Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. We're making selections for Monday Night Football in about 30 minutes, so stay tuned to that. But today on Monday, we recap the entire weekend of the NFL. We throw in college football as well because my conference, the Pac-12 Conference, is the best in the country. We'll talk about it on this show. Of course, some other topics as well. Welcome back, Gabe, who has been gone for 2 weeks now. Part of that, I think, was that he wanted to study and focus in on all 190 snaps of the USC Cal game from this past weekend, which I know that he did. While you've been gone, by the way, Jets, Jets, buddy, your Jets are back in the. Are you in the band? Are you back?
No.
Is Gabe back as a Jets fan?
No, I'm not back as a Jets fan. I'm never coming back. Divorce is final. Okay, I'm not like one of these weird celebrities who remarries their ex-wife. It's not happening. We're done with the Jets. I don't care if they won the ugliest football game I've ever seen in my life. It's not. They're not a part of my life. I'm sorry.
Well, they won a game where the other team threw for negative 9 yards and might not have been the worst quarterback play of the game. So that's happening. But let's talk about Gabe. I believe we're starting with my favorite football team, the Kansas City Chiefs.
You don't even want to take a little bit of a victory lap on how well you've been picking these games week in, week out? You don't want to tell the people how smart you are?
We're 26-11-3, which is pretty incredible. And right now, by the way, Matt and Ivy, congratulations. I don't know. Something's happening today. Matt might have a child by the end of this. He will not be here Friday. We confirmed that. We'll find a different solution on Friday. But Matt's going to text me his picks. I told him this, we're doing so well this year. You can't ignore that part of your life anymore. So I know you're going to have a kid, but just text me your picks anyways. But yeah, we're doing well. It's nice. I don't know. I'll take it until it runs out. It ain't going to be this way all seasons, but I'll take the wins when I can.
Well, Matt, he'll be joining our club and a club that Pat Mahomes is in. Here's the thing we all have in common, or at least soon we'll all have in common: fatherhood. And according to the broadcast, a flu was bouncing around in Pat's home all week. Kid, wife, everyone was sick. And then Pat was sick and he was getting drips, and he obviously didn't play well. He looked like he was sick. So the 16-game win streak against the Broncos, a team that was total dog crap, it comes to an end. And the Chiefs looked really, really bad. And Pat looked as bad as he's looked all year, maybe in years. So, Geoff, is this just one of those blips and eventually they were going to lose to this team, or do we have something to worry about here?
The lesson here, Gabe, is you just can't beat the Broncos 17 times in a row. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. Mahomes is in his 6th season, first division road loss of his career.
Yeah.
I think our buddy Nick Wright tweeted out that's only the 4th time in Pat Mahomes' career he's lost by more than 8 points. I believe the Titans was one of those a couple of years ago. Whatever. The thing about the NFL, it's so different than college football, is you lose a game in college football and you're like, oh, my season's ruined. It's destroyed. The Chiefs lose a game, and we'll get to why they lost and the reasons why. Gabe, I woke up this morning, went to check the standings. Guess what? Number 1 seed in the AFC still. 3-game lead in the division, or 2.5-game lead in the division. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. Now, the real concern is this. There's clearly a disconnect with the offense and Pat and the wide receivers, right? Pat and the wide receivers are just not clicking yet. We said the same thing last year, by the way. At this point, it wasn't great last year, and they figured it out. The difference is I don't know if they're going to figure out quite the same level this season. Last year, they had Juju Smith-Schuster, who had 100 targets last season and 78 catches. I think I'm right on that. They don't have that guy this year. They have Travis Kelce, who, is the bye week's going to be important for him in a couple of weeks. I think he's been beat up. Not quite, I think, as quick as he's been in the past, but also you could just double team him, right? Denver's a double team him. You're not going to make the difference in this game. Can you find someone else to be the offense? And the answer right now is no, right? Christian Watson has some ability down the field, but they missed that middle of the field player. They miss, Kelce's not open 7 yards out here. Where's the other receiver open 7 yards over here? They don't have that guy right now. And that was Juju last year for them, right? Now, it was supposed to be Sky Moore. Clearly, it's not Sky Moore because he just can't catch. Rashee Rice might be that guy at some point, but he's a rookie. He's figuring things out. He had a bad drop in this game, but had some good plays as well. It's certainly not Kadarius Toney. They just don't have that player right now. And the trade deadline is tomorrow, I believe. I don't think the Chiefs are going to move someone, move for someone. Limited amount of cap space, no draft picks next season. Maybe they trade for Juju, ask for Juju back from Baltimore. They got Hardman back. Maybe he's that guy, but Hardman was never the receiver in this offense that Juju was. They're missing that guy. And again, could that be Rashee Rice at some point? Absolutely. But the thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to panic and say like, oh, this is it. This is it. Like the Chiefs they'll figure it out offensively. The thing about them right now, which makes it so different than other years, Gabe, their defense is really good. Even yesterday, they were put on short fields and they battled their ass off until the very end. And so they put the Dolphins this weekend in Germany. I'm not worried about when they play the Dolphins and Eagles. The worry is when they play the Broncos. Like they're always up for the Dolphins and Eagles games. They just offensively, it wasn't great. They got to figure out the wide receiver position. I just don't think they're going to trade for someone. So it's got to be done in-house. They have to figure out in-house how to get this offense to function a little more smoothly.
Yeah. Okay. I want to come back to the trade thing. Until yesterday's breakout from Will Levis and D-Hop having 3 touchdowns, I would have said, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be on the move and Kansas City makes a lot of sense. There might be some other guys who are even more obvious slot kind of guys, just Juju types. Juju should obviously be on the selling block from New England. You're sure there's no way they go out and get someone though? Like I don't know. It feels like they're in a bit of a win now, right? Like how many more years with Travis and Pat together are we going to have? Like you probably want to get 1 or 2 more ring runs in right now. Go give up a draft pick. Go get a player.
I don't know who that guy is though, right? I mean, Hopkins maybe, but to be fair, they don't need Hopkins. Like they don't need that type of receiver.
He's not the right
They need that, like that, again, that middle of the field slot guy. Like they need that type of player who is trustworthy, and they don't have that yet. So again, I would just call it Patriots. What do you want for Juju?
Yeah, that's
2-6, 2-5. Like, what do you need for Juju? Just come on back, buddy. We were wrong. We should have paid you. Come on back. Or she didn't get paid that much money, but come on back and let's run it back. And Juju said last year, too, that it took him about 8 to 10 weeks to figure out how to work with Pat. It's a week 8 right now with a bunch of young players. So there's a chance that maybe they sort of, quote unquote, figure it out. But one thing, too, like, I know you're joking about the flu thing. Like, no one blamed the flu. That's not why they lost this game. They lost this game because
I wasn't joking. You sure?
Yeah, you were joking. Offensively, there's just no...
They said he had the flu on the broadcast. No, I'm not joking. What?
No, I believe he had the flu. I'm saying you were joking about basically blaming this game on the flu. We're not blaming this game on the flu.
You're not.
Absolutely. Oh, you're blaming this.
I'm asking the question. You're supposed to make me smarter on this show. It looked like he played like crap. Is it because he felt like crap?
No. He was fine. I mean, he wasn't. He felt like crap, but I don't think that's why he played like.
All right, fair enough. I believe you.
So yeah, they just have to. Again, offensively, it's finding the wide receiver who, again, might be in the room, might be a trade. I haven't seen anything. There was a trade right now. Leonard Williams got traded to from the Giants to the Seahawks. Interesting, for a 2nd and 5th round pick. So I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do. No one's reported anything. No one has even put out any sort of like hints about what they might do. But I mean, it feels like just getting Juju back will be very helpful for them.
Yeah. Question. I want to talk Mike McDaniels and the Dolphins for a second here because we won't have a chance later. Going to Germany is a weird thing to do as an NFL team. Mike is not conventional. I'm curious, like, these are weird weeks. You break your routines. Old-timey coaches with all their weird rules seem like guys who would struggle sending a team to Germany to play in a different place on a different schedule. He seems like the kind of guy who could be flexible and make it fun and get his team bought in on like this weird journey together. Am I giving him credit for something he doesn't deserve? Am I just falling for all the funny press conferences? He seems like he'd be a pretty chill dude sending his team to Germany.
I actually feel like an older coach would almost be better prepared to handle this logistically than a new coach.
Okay.
But I don't think it matters much in this game. I think it's just a weird situation to have this big of a game in Germany. It's a neutral site vibe, which is always weird. I mean, the one Super Bowl I went to, which was the Chiefs and Niners, it's a weird vibe, right? Because the field is it's half Chief fans, half Dolphin fans, and really more like a third, and then a third corporate. It's going to feel like a corporate game. It's going to be very weird in the stands. I feel like it's going to kind of lessen the vibe of what this game really could be. The question I have, I don't know, I could look it up, is when the Chiefs and Dolphins are going to Germany. It's a long flight. Are they going today and get acclimated to the time there? Are they going Friday, which would change my opinion maybe about who can win and lose this game? The Chiefs are able to handle the Taylor Swift distraction. They're going to be fine with this. I think the Dolphins will be fine too. I mean, does Tyreek Hill's legs still work fine in Germany? Okay, great, they do. Then we'll be fine, right? So, but Tyreek Hill in our preseason wagering previews, we took Tyreek Hill over 1,300 yards, I want to say, and he has nearly 1,000 already this season. Which is wow. I mean, he said he wanted 2,000 yards. He's got 10,000 yards through 8 games. Excuse me, 1,000 yards through 8 games. Like he's on pace for that.
A nice record.
Yeah, he's on pace for that. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, it's obviously the game of the week. The other sort of undercard AFC matchup that, these are probably the 4 teams we're going to have to talk about late into January, at least on the AFC side. Burrow and Allen matching up, and Burrow seems revived. All the takes today are, he's back and better than he ever was. So I guess whatever the concerns were for the first few weeks of the season, people have gotten over it. Did you see enough out of them? Do you see enough out of the Bills after bouncing back? Do those feel like the 2 other teams in the top 4 in the AFC?
Yeah, actually, well, I'd probably go Chiefs, Jaguars, Dolphins, Bengals, Bills, I think, if I were to go like how I feel about the teams right now. Jaguars, I think have played, I think I did this, I put this for Fox Sports yesterday. They started 2-7 last year, and since then they've lost 5 total games, and 3 have been in Kansas City. Jacksonville's really good. People are sleeping on Jacksonville. They're a good football team. The Bills, to me, are untrustworthy. Like, what are they, Gabe? Like, what are they? The Bills and USC have parallels, in my opinion, where you say about both those teams. We'll talk about USC. Like, no, seriously, both those teams. Like, what is the identity of the Trojans? Is Caleb Williams just run around and make plays for us, right? What's the Bills' identity? Josh Allen make plays for us. Like, be our team for us. The Bengals have a real identity. They're really good on defense, and with Burrow back. And we saw yesterday they ran the ball like their team feels much more whole than Buffalo does. And so the line is 2. I take the Bengals right now, and I think but the Buffalo, look, the biggest game they played so far, they beat the Dolphins by a lot of points. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a tiebreaker for an AFC top seed possibly. So fun. Don't we have Cowboys Eagles this weekend too?
Yeah, I was going to say the NFC is just as exciting in terms of like playoff relevance. So Eagles Cowboys, and I'm be honest with you, I don't know what to make of either of these teams. They're obviously 2 of the better teams in the NFC, but I don't know how to rank them, and I don't know what I'm going to get each week. The Cowboys just ended that game in the first quarter. It felt like, and the Eagles could have put it away, didn't quite. I'm just not 100% sure I understand which of those teams truly is dominant.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys, to me, are front runners. When they're up in a game, Gabe, that with that pass rush, they're not going to be beaten very often. When they're up 17-3 early in that game, and they got a pick 6, right? That you're not beating them if that happens. No one's doing that. Even the Eagles aren't doing that. But if you play the Cowboys close, that's where you kind of get into, like we can beat this team, right? So that's a start. The Eagles to me they're Eagles, man. Like they're winning games. Washington always gives them trouble. So this weekend to me was not a surprise. We did not bet the Commanders, thankfully. Depending on what number you got, 6, 6.5, or 7, you feel pretty bad about where you're at. But the Eagles are 7-1. I mean, hard to do. They're not, to me, they're not a paper 7-1, right? Their advanced stats back up how well they play this season. The Niners 5-3 now. I don't know.
Rumblings about their quarterback. I think that conversation is going to continue every week until something changes with Brock Purdy.
So here's the thing about Brock Purdy. It's a good lesson, and I think I need to learn this lesson too. But I was also reacted to the anti-Brock Purdy stuff when I said a couple weeks ago I think he's just a good football player. Mm-hmm. Is even the last couple of weeks he hasn't played terrible. He's had a bad mistake or two, right? Like a bad mistake. He hasn't been terrible overall. There's a saying that we have when we watch film, Gabe, in the offensive line room, that we always said it was never as good as you think or never as bad as you think, right? If I had a sweet block, I'd go watch it and be like, that guy kind of tripped. It's not as cool. Bad play, you're like, not as bad as I thought it would be, right? Okay. That's, I feel like, how we should evaluate most things in the NFL. Like Brock Purdy was probably never as good as we wanted him to be 5 weeks ago, but probably never as bad as you think he is now. Somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere in the middle. I think at the best, he's efficient. He doesn't turn the ball over. The Niners move the ball, but he's not a top 15 quarterback. At worst, what he is now, right? Too many turnovers. Too many plays where he's not doing the right thing, and it's costing him in these moments. It's not the whole game, right? It's not Zach Wilson in the game. It's just a couple moments throughout the game that are not great. And so if he kind of goes back in that other direction where he makes it, he fixes those issues, they're fine. I think that the concern with them too, though, is that their defense is not what it was last season. And it's a good reminder that defense tends to fluctuate a lot more in the offseason than offense. Where offense, if you see the top offensive teams are typically the top offensive teams, defense like just every year kind of goes up and down. The goal, in my opinion, if you're a good offense, Kansas City, Bengals, Bills, Dolphins, Eagles, like just be average on defense. Like some years you're going to be really good, but you can't just be really bad. Just be average on defense. And the Niners have built their team in this run game and the defense and the quarterback being efficient. Well, if you slowly lose a couple of those things, right, then you don't have a second gear. Dude, pretty fascinating. I saw this today. Sam Munson put this out of PFF. Kyle Shanahan is 0-37 when trailing by 8+ points in the fourth quarter as a coach. That's insane, man.
Talking about front running. The Cowboys, how about that for front running? No comebacks.
They have like one way to sort of win, and when they don't, this is what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think your analysis of Purdy makes total sense, and I'm not able to look at the tape and evaluate him more analytically. Just the way we all talk about sports, what you said makes sense, which is he was never as good as we wanted him to be, and he's certainly not as bad as the worst that will be said about him this week. They still seem like a playoff team. So back to the Eagles for a second, because they now appear to be the best team in the NFC. We would certainly say that if they beat the Cowboys next week. But listen to this run. Cowboys at Chiefs, home for the Bills and the Niners, and then at the Cowboys again. So they're 7-1, but coming out of those 5, they'd be lucky to go 3-2, right? Those are not all wins. No way they're coming out of that 5-0.
Well, you want to win the Super Bowl, then you better beat Super Bowl caliber teams, right? Like that's what happens, right, Gabe? Like this the NFL does best. You have a first place schedule. Well, next year you finish first place, you got a first place schedule, and they also just drew the Chiefs, which isn't great, and they drew the AFC East, which is a really good division this year. That's just part of life. And all right, well, go figure it out. I mean, I if they can get through that stretch. It's Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. Seahawks will probably be a playoff team. If they go as 3-3, then they play Giants, Cardinals, Giants. That puts them at 13-4, man.
Yeah, 13-4. Good. No, that final stretch is, and that's what you want, right? Wouldn't you rather end the season Giants, Cardinals, Giants, and basically be resting some guys to get to the playoffs healthy versus this is a real run. I mean, they're going to lose at Kansas City. They're going to lose one of the games to the Cowboys. And Bills and Niners are, might get up for those games and beat them. So let me ask you this, Geoff, because I texted this while we were watching. I sometimes do that when I know you're paying attention. Well, you're always paying attention, but when I'm paying attention. So in that Eagles Commanders game, when it felt like it was all Eagles, and they got a turnover and they have the ball and they were running the tush push, and then they did a fake tush push. We have some ideas for what to call that. But DeAndre Swift actually takes the ball instead of the keep, and he runs sort of sweep out to the left and runs in for a score, which they kind of needed, but also why show that play now in a game you're probably going to win anyway? Like, do coaches think like I'm thinking on that? Why show the whole league that?
Well, while I talk about this, I want you to tee up those names for me about what we're going to call this sweet play.
All right.
Well, a couple things here. One is that, that's a game where Washington kept scoring, and they scored right after that, right? It was 38-24. So I think in that situation, you're like, we need a touchdown for sure. Like, we need to score, go ahead, and end this game. And so that's what coaches think about. They don't think about, oh, well, we might want to use this in week 14 against the Seahawks. It's like, we got to win this game today. This play's going to work. Let's run this play today. And now, when you put Swift back there again, you motion him out. You have one less defender there, right? In the box. You hand him the ball, or you fake hand him the ball, you run the other direction. Like, there's things you could do off of this now, but I think you had to show, especially after you fumbled the earlier tush push, that like something, just you have something else. You have something else there to do. They showed it. Again, it's all about winning now, right? Preserving the ability to win this game. Again, the NFL is week to week. You got to win the game in hand, and it felt necessary in that moment to do that. Plus, it saves Kelsey another rep of having to just be mauled by everyone. So I think it was a smart play. Obviously, it worked, and then Commanders came back down and scored again. Like, they need those points, and so I think it was a good decision.
All right, so the next time they run it, here's what we propose we call that. I don't know if I have a favorite here. You tell me what you think. The Fanny Fake. So? The Rump Ruse. Huh?
Yeah.
The Derriere Dupe.
Ooh, the Derriere Dupe is a good one, yeah.
I think I like this one the best, though. The Buttocks Bamboozle. A lot of syllables, but I think it's worth it.
Buttocks Bamboozle for a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Or butt Bamboozle.
I think Buttocks Bamboozle works well. It's very proper when you say it that way. It's a proper.
Yeah, I could imagine my wife saying it that way. This is getting.
Oh, geez. Your very real wife.
Yeah, my real wife who's not a robot. AJ Brown, by the way, having an unbelievable season. All fantasy owners know that. I'm one of them. But like, we're just talking about the Chiefs and picking up a receiver. And like, teams don't always know what they have, right? Like, this guy was with the Titans. Everyone thought he was talented. Now he's clearly the best receiver in the league, breaking all kinds of records week to week. How does that happen?
Good.
How do people not know they've got such a player?
Well, Tennessee never had a quarterback in an offense like Hurts, right? So I think a lot of it comes down to just, where you land, who's your coaching staff. So I think that's part of it, right? Like, he just didn't have Jalen Hurts. He didn't have this team. He wasn't, I guess when you're running the ball with Derrick Henry, you have a lot of single coverage, but you had Ryan Tannehill thrown to you, not Jalen Hurts. So sometimes it just takes a change of scenery to get there.
Well, it seems like the Eagles are built on, at least offensively, are built on a few guys who other people didn't fully value correctly. Jalen Hurts being the best example. Like, he was a second round guy. He was dismissed. He was pushed to the bench at Alabama. Like, DeAndre Swift was a pretty good player, but he ends up there. Like, they've got these guys.
Even Jalen Carter, who went down the draft board to end up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they must have a better way of evaluating. Well, we're talking about the crappy quarterback play in Tennessee. Apparently, they got their guy, the Mayo Eater himself, Will Levis. 4 touchdown passes in his NFL debut, outshined the what was supposed to be the big 1-2 in Stroud versus Young, which was a real stinker. I mean, Young got the win, but kind of a boring game. So Vrabel plus Levis is the new Belichick Brady, right?
It absolutely is. How about that? I mean, he looked good. It's one game, obviously, against a bad Falcons team. But what really impressed me and what the Titans need in the worst way is a quarterback to push the ball down the field. And he had 3 touchdown passes over 30 yards. It was really fun to watch. He was like pump faking too and throwing. Like, he looked like he knew what he was doing. Maybe some mayonnaise in the coffee is the way to go. Oh God, that sounds like just the grossest thing of all time, Gabe. Mayonnaise and coffee. Hideous.
And he's from the Northeast, so I don't even understand this. Like, where did he even?
So he should be like a Dunkin' Donuts. He should be like a Dunkin' Donuts guy then.
No, they should kick him out of there. Don't bring mayonnaise into Dunkin' Donuts.
I have a slight issue with the Titans though. I don't think you can wear throwbacks of a team that you basically took. And
Yeah.
you can't wear they look good. So for those who missed it, the Tennessee Titans wore Houston Oilers throwbacks. They came from Houston. Then the Texans were so but that would be like the Hornets wearing Charlotte Hornets wearing like Pelicans jerseys, because we or it was the other way around.
Yeah.
No,
The Thunder wearing Sonics jerseys would
yeah,
cause an outrage in Seattle.
you'd be like the Hornets came from New Orleans, right? Or we went to New Orleans, one of the two. It didn't matter, but you can't, you just can't, you can't do that. That to me feels like the Texans should wear Oilers uniforms.
Yeah.
Not
well, I think the
other
NFL
way
stepped
around.
in, by the way, Geoff, and said what you're saying, which was you can't do that. There's copyright infringement issues. So they're done doing the Oiler knockoff.
Sorry, it was the other way around. The Hornets went to New Orleans and became the Pelicans. Yeah. So it'd be weird if the Pelicans wore Hornets throwbacks. Basically what you're saying. That would be very weird.
Right. But the NFL is saying this isn't going to be a thing again. So even though it was fun to look at and everyone was excited on Twitter, I don't think we're going to get that again. So do we have to take the Titans seriously, or can they just remain in the don't bother talking about them category?
Don't bother talking about them. So wait. So that would mean you'd have what other teams would do this? The Colts would wear Raven? No, it would have to be like the Ravens. What other teams would have to do this? It'd be pretty interesting to figure out.
Well,
what teams
the Ravens would be wearing Cleveland Browns stuff, which is ironic, I suppose. And
Baltimore went. The Colts went to Indy, right? That's right. Baltimore went to Indy, I think.
Baltimore went to Indy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just that would be if they had one weekend we just wore your old like the Chargers wore Chargers uniforms still. the Rams. Yeah. I mean, it'd be really interesting if they did that for one weekend. You just had to wear your original uniforms. Like I think Arizona was in Chicago beforehand or Boston. It'd be a fun weekend in the NFL.
Well, the only thing worth a damn about the Jets-Giants matchup this weekend would be talking about their old uniforms. That was the worst game of football I've seen in recent memory. I am certainly not the only person who felt that way. We were down to a third-string quarterback for the Giants and a starting quarterback who should be no better than a third-string quarterback on most teams for the Jets. In a game that, for some reason, we were forced to watch overtime because neither team could just lose. That game was gross, and here's my big take. Next time they play, the loser is moved to London. We don't need two teams in New York anymore. It was fine when the Giants were great, but come on. We don't need two teams to root for. And the Bills are the only team from the damn state.
Well, they don't play for 4 more years, buddy. Okay, so let's talk about the end of the game. Everyone's talking about that spot gate, right? Boomer Science is wrong. It's okay. He got community noted on Twitter about how about that?
Boomer got community noted for a football take.
Yeah.
Good. Was it you who did it, Geoff?
No, but I probably did. He's wrong. In a hurry-up situation like that, the official has to touch the ball. That means it's spotted. The rulebook doesn't say who spots. It doesn't say nothing about the offensive lineman can't spot it. All it says is the official has to spot the ball. The ball was spotted when he touched it. That counts in the hurry-up mechanism, and the ball was snapped. It's important to note. Go back and watch was it the end of last year's playoff game or year before when the Niners were in Dallas? Okay, they ran that quarterback sneak, and they slid, and the center for the Cowboys tried to do the same thing, try to spot the ball where Dak Prescott finished his slide. However, go watch the video. The referee was 2 yards back spotting the ball. The line judge was because when you spot the ball in a slide, it's where you start your slide. So he wasn't he was in the wrong place. The umpire had to move the ball backwards. If you watch the Jets center, he gets the ball. He looks to the line judge. He sees where the line judge puts the ball down. The ref runs up, sees it's correct, touches it, snapped the ball, spike. It was worked out well for them.
Yeah, there's a snake out on the concrete.
Okay.
Alive.
That's Jeff's child, who would probably right now, I would slot as the second best quarterback on the Jets.
I'm in the middle of work, guys.
Don't worry, Geoff. I'll fill.
It's a baby.
Okay.
This is what it was like watching the Jets-Giants game, by the way.
Charlie's not here.
Of circus.
Get out of here. Well, there's a snake outside, Gabe. A little snake. What do you mean? Okay.
Okay. Maybe have one of those hawks that killed all your chickens. Go get it.
Well, if it's a black snake or rat snake, it's fine. If it's a copperhead, we got to deal with it. Nonetheless.
Well, either way, it seems like your little children will figure it out without you.
Figure it out. Okay. So the thing about the ending of this game was the Giants, someone has to be fired for the end of this game.
Great.
Think about this. 1st and 10, Saquon Barkley has a chance for a first down to end the game, falls down, doesn't get it. For some odd reason, just falls down. The Giants then have to kick a field goal 2 plays later. Misses the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, 24 seconds left. There's no way the Jets are getting down for a game-time field goal. They complete a 29-yard pass. The clock stops because Kayvon Thibodeau was offsides.
Mm-hmm.
If he was onside, the clock just runs and runs and runs and runs and runs. They have to spike the ball and go Hail Mary. Then the next play, another 29-yard pass completion, and for some reason they let the Lazard just get up off the ground, just lay on him until the ref pulls you off of him. Like it was the Giants are just not coached well right now. I know they're injured. I know they're that. It was just a horrific ending to that game for the Giants. It's not acceptable. They're a better franchise than that.
Yes, they are. And the Jets have a better coach than the team that plays for him.
Yeah,
that's why we don't need both of these franchises in this city anymore. I grew up loving them. Every meaningful person in my life roots for one of these two teams. We'll be fine without them. It's fine. We'll just send one of them to London. There's your answer. Let me ask you this. Of course, Aaron Rodgers has to try to insert himself into the story. He's now, thanks to his better understanding of science than the rest of us have, he has had a miraculous Achilles surgery and is now walking around and even throwing on a field. And I'm here to say, as silly as Aaron Rodgers tends to be these days, I think at whatever status he is right now, he's better than Zach Wilson. Somebody should clear him and send his ass back out there because he said he wanted to play in the playoffs. They're not getting there unless he goes and wins them a few of these games. You can't win that game 13-10 and think you have a good team.
Aaron Rodgers loves coming out before the game and throwing the ball, doesn't he? The intention on him is he's probably not going to play this season, and there's more attention on him than there is the actual team.
He'll play.
When?
They're going to have to put him out there. He's not going to take no for an answer.
Interesting. So you think he plays like week 16, even if they're out of the playoff hunt?
He saw what we saw. He knows that even if his Achilles ruptures mid-game, him walking around one-legged is better than Zach Wilson against a real team.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
Speaking of which,
I agree with you there.
Can I took note of this yesterday and I was blown away. Can I just tell you about some of the quarterbacks that played in the quarterback league?
It's so bad.
Help me out here. So we have Tyson Bagent, right? Isn't that his name? Bagent?
Sure, it doesn't matter.
Bears guy who never even played D1 football. By the way, fun guy to watch, but whatever. Tommy DeVito, never heard of him, but he was playing meaningful time for the Giants. Jaron Hall had to come in when Kirk Cousins went down, also with an Achilles. Mitch Trubisky got some time. Tyler Heineke back on the field. Will Levis, obviously we talked about him. Brett Rippon and Cooper Rush. Gardner Minshew, he's the most experienced of all these guys. Taysom Hill, your boy. PJ Walker gets the start. DTR gets on the field. Josh Dobbs has been starting for weeks. Mac Jones and Zach Wilson too. What the hell is this? How are these players in NFL games?
Yeah, it's not great. Injuries have ravaged the sport this year, quarterback, right? And then teams being unprepared and looking ahead to this draft, we're going to have Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Riley Leonard, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, maybe Jalen Daniels. Like, you're going to have all these quarterbacks that are going to come out. Sam Hartman. I mean, teams are just waiting, Gabe, to get themselves a quarterback in this draft. And so they're just sucking up with bad quarterbacks right now.
Fine, but like we used to have a McCown for every team. You know, there was a guy who could go, and Andy Dalton, like whoever was out there, Flacco, whoever you needed could go.
There's no veterans anymore.
Is it just a money thing? Like, help me understand this. Why do we have a D3 guy starting for the Bears in primetime?
It's cheaper.
I mean, It works every now and then. Brock Purdy, until a couple weeks ago, it looked pretty cool, but like this can't be it.
I think it's just cheaper, and we're seeing a cycling out of a lot of the older quarterbacks make so much money that they don't want to stay on as backups late in their career. And the guys that end up playing 15 years, or Tyrod Taylor, who's good,
Yeah,
not great, he's a good backup. That's probably a big part of it.
Well, Tyrod's, by the way, the best quarterback in New Jersey, so he should be a starter for one of those two teams. Geoff, let's take a quick break. We got some more picks to give out. We got some college football to touch on.
Let's do it.
A little bit more business to do. So we don't even need to go anywhere. For the live stream, we're just going to sit right here, but this is where we put the break for the audio listener. We'll be back in a second. All right, Geoff, we're back. It's time for us to break down some college football, if we even want to call the USC game football. I'll say it. I'll just beat you to the punch. This is like B-Rabbit in a rap battle. We're garbage. Our defense is garbage. USC getting bailed out by Cal not converting a 2-point conversion to go for it and win the game. Credit to them for even trying. Was embarrassing. I said they should not allow Alex Grinch back on the plane to SoCal. They should just leave him up in the Bay Area. They're playing Washington next week at the Coliseum. I know the over-under is high. I'd say double it. No one will play defense in this game, and USC is a joke.
If you had to guess what the total for this game is, what would you guess?
It's just right there, staying there.
Uh-oh. The snake has not gone away.
I'm still working.
I like
do
this.
Not touch, do not touch the snake. Just don't touch it. I'll be down in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Geoff, I can tell the audience that USC has a crap defense without you for a minute. If you want to go get the snake.
No, I don't care about the snake.
Around your beautiful daughter.
Just don't touch the snake. Jesus Christ.
I would have guessed the over-under would be about 90.
It's 76 right now, which feels low. USC, the Cal scored on a 3rd and 1 on the first drive of the game, and they ran the ball between the left tackle and left guard. I wrote down the weights of the 3 USC players on defense nearest. So the defensive tackle, the defensive end, and the linebacker. You ready?
Yeah.
The defensive end was 230 pounds. The defensive tackle was 275, and the linebacker was 215.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to play in the Mountain West, it's a great size defense. But you're at USC. The problem is, Gabe, besides the schematic stuff, which is just atrocious, the schematics are awful. They are small. They're small. Bear Alexander is really good. He's 6'2", 300 pounds. He is the only 300-pound football player on the defense who plays for the USC Trojans. Only 300-pounder. Oregon, by the way, who is a playoff team in my opinion, they might not get there. Who knows? College football is weird. They have like 7 300-pounders that play on the defensive line. You have to have big bodies to play big. And USC does it. We heard this weekend from Deion Sanders after they lost again to UCLA. And he made a comment, we're going to find new linemen. USC has tried that. Colorado is trying that. You have to home grow these guys. I cannot stress this enough. You can have an offensive defensive line that is filled up with portal players as necessary. But the base of that unit has to be a player that you have had in your program, in your culture, ready to go. Oregon, by the way, best defensive line in the Pac-12. Take it back. UCLA is probably the best. Oregon's the deepest. I think it's 3 portal players. That's it. Out of like the 12 that play. It's all guys that have been there a long time, some freshmen, even the transfer portal players, Gabe, by the way, there's 1 transfer portal player of the 3. There's 3, that came this year. 2 of them came 2 years ago. Like they've been here for a long time. And so USC and Colorado out west are trying this thing where they just like, we'll just get a whole new bunch of players every year. It doesn't work that way. And USC does not recruit defensive players, defensive linemen. It's insane. Oregon got another 5-star today, defensive lineman. Like you have to recruit. You need those guys to come in and be the base of your team. And USC does not have that. I like the fight. At least they showed fight. Caleb Williams plays his ass off, but the offense too is sort of like broken. The offense doesn't play in a lot of rhythm. It's not very functional. But enough about the shitty USC team. Oregon's really good. Like Oregon's a playoff caliber team. Washington, I think, is a playoff caliber team. They struggle a little bit. Probably one of those two gets in. We get to this point where the college football rankings are out tomorrow, the first playoff rankings. And we get to a point where we say this every year. We're like week 5. I don't know. There's 12 teams that can make it. And now you get to like week 10 and it's Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, one Big 12 team and one Pac-12 team. Done. We have our 9 teams that can make it. And it simples itself down as we get as we play more football. We learn about the teams as they continue to go through adversity. Injuries crippled Utah, as we've seen. Like, this part of the sport. Injuries might have crippled Texas, right? Without Quinn Ewers. Part of the sport. It sucks. Injuries stink. And so, but it's been a fun year. As we've been talking, by the way, the Iowa offensive coordinator, who is Kirk Ferentz's son, Brian Ferentz, has been will be relieved of duties, which is funny because he had to reach to save his job. They needed 325 points this season total. It didn't matter if offense or defensive points, and they're not even remotely close to that.
Nope. Yeah, imagine they put a threshold on that was like, we kind of think you stink at this, so if you prove to us that you stink, we're just going to fire you. And and your own dad is the one tossing you out. Let's stay in that conference, though, and some of the big guys. Obviously, the last week, everyone has made jokes about Harbaugh and the cheating scandal, and every fan of every team in the Big Ten and everyone who ever played Michigan is now finding some video or creating some giant conspiracy. I know your view on all of this is a lot simpler and more like most players would be. What should we make of what's going on with Harbaugh and Michigan and the various accusations of cheating over the last few years?
Okay, so a couple things here. They obviously did it. Like, we know they did it, right? The evidence is all there. Yeah. So the question becomes, Gabe, at what level did it go? Sign stealing, like in baseball, is accepted if you do it by the traditional means, right? You see them call, like, Oregon was calling, like, they're making a Ute symbol all game. They must have had a defensive game plan in for the Utes, right? If Utah sees that in the game and they figure out, oh, that's cover 3, great. Like, we're going to tell them. Even if you watch a TV copy and you see, like, them doing this one week and then next week you try to figure it out. But I know it's against the rules to do what Michigan did in the stands as far as film the opponent. But that's also sort of breaking, like, the coaching code, right? Where it's sort of understood that you're not going to do that, right? It's Spygate all over again. It's the same thing, right? Like, as soon as Eric Mangini left the Patriots, he's like, don't do this to me. He did it to them and he got in trouble, right? Like, and so that's where the part of it, I think, that sucks. And one part of it that stinks to me, two parts. One is that I don't even know how much has helped them win or lose. I was listening to Brock Heward, was on with Colin Cowherd, talking about sign stealing. And he said that when he was at Washington, there was a guru there who was just watch a TV copy and it was great at stealing signs. I think it was in Washington. It might have been in the NFL. It doesn't matter. He said it helped him 2 or 3 plays a game. That was it. Now, if those 3 plays ended up being good, that's a big part of the game plan. I get that. But I couldn't even tell you if it helped Michigan. Michigan's playing nobody. They could have told Michigan State, we're running the ball right here. We're playing cover 3. They would have no chance. Michigan State was getting their ass kicked. So I don't know how much it actually helps them to win and lose, Gabe. It's illegal. They should get punished for that. And then I think last for me is that I like Michigan's coaching staff. Like, I know some of the coaches there. The Joe Moore Award that I vote on for best college offensive line, they won 2 years in a row. Like, I like what Michigan does. I like watching them play football. I feel like this tarnishes just my personal watch of Michigan, right? Which is kind of a bummer. So there's Harbaugh to the NFL now. There's reports that they might not let him come to the NFL. So I don't know. It's interesting. Nothing will happen this year, I don't think.
We far enough into the show for me to give you a steamy hot take here?
Oh, no. Oh, let's hear it.
Harbaugh replaces Belichick. Pulls a Pete Carroll, gets out of there before they catch up to him, goes and gets paid. Well, probably the only kind of person who could replicate and maybe adjust the culture created in New England, gives everyone a smooth off ramp. Bill wants to leave, we're sure. Got to rebuild in New England. Got to get a clean start in Michigan. Why not?
It's a good place for him because the Bears have been the one that has come up most often. But Kevin Warren, the former Big Ten commissioner, is now the president of the Bears, and people think that's not going to work out. That Warren doesn't want Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh's going to the NFL somewhere this year. Going to the NFL. I mean, are you telling me that Mark Davis won't give him a call this offseason after they fired Josh McDaniels?
The Chargers might look into it depending on how things play out with Staley. But I'm just saying,
dude,
I think
Herbert and Harbaugh would be a good. That'd be a good pairing. Yeah, your Chargers.
Yeah, my Chargers. Well, let's stay in their division for the Raiders, who stink, but are playing tonight. Monday night game, Lions. We haven't talked about them in a while, it seemed. We talked about them all off season.
Yeah.
They showed up and played as well as all the hype somehow. Then we kind of stopped talking about them, and here we have a Monday night game where they're favored by 7.5. The half's interesting, so take me through it. What are you looking at tonight?
Well, it was like 9. The Sharps have been hammering, which is wild because I just can't. I don't see the Raiders be competitive. They're just not a good football team. They have some good players, but the Lions have the pieces like the offensive line to shut down Max Crosby. Hard to do. But they got Penei Sewell, and I mean, that's why he's there, right? And so I do think the Lions win this game. And as we know, Monday night we have our Prize Pick segment. I put a 3-score entry together. Use my promo code GSSY for a $100 match deposit. You can choose up to 6 players, and you pick more or less than their projection. And so we're gonna look at what I put together tonight. It was fun. I did one yesterday I wanted a second half wager for some props, but I couldn't find props. I just used Prize Picks. I hit it. I did a second half Mostert Henry more rushing total one and hit it. It was awesome. So for tonight,
square, baby, you nailed it.
You ready? Here we go. Jimmy Garoppolo, less than 252.5 passing yards. He has been over 208 yards one time this season. One time this year. He doesn't throw for a lot of yards. He's coming off injury. I think the Lions will be able to slow him down enough, slow the weapons down enough for the Raiders. And I just think it's going to game where they're going to try to run the football, keep out of Goff's hands, and Jimmy G. I just think betting Jimmy G under is always the way to go. Right. Jameson Williams more than 26.5 receiving yards. He had none last weekend, but with Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was a little under the weather, right? A little under the weather. I just think that the Raiders don't have a deep secondary. They don't have much of a secondary. And I feel like this is the game where second and third options for the Lions are going to hit pretty big. And the last one I have, I love doing sacks, man. I love to throw sacks in here. Aiden Hutchinson, more than a third of a sack. So one whole sack, basically. I need one whole sack. Aiden Hutchinson against the Raiders offensive line. I'm going to do it.
Actually, Geoff, I think the way it's written, they're basically trying to tempt you into betting it to get a half sack because a half's more than a third. No, there's no such thing as a third of a sack.
Well, no, it's telling you that you need more than half a sack to win. Some weeks
you just said a third.
I'm sorry. Did I say that incorrectly?
Start it over. Tell me what I'm doing with the sacks.
Sorry. Aiden Hutchinson more than I said 3/4 of a sack. Isn't that what I said? 3/4 of a sack.
I don't know what you said. Now say it again so I got it because I want to write it down and win some money.
Aiden Hutchinson more than 3/4 of a sack. So I need one full sack. One full sack or 2 half sacks. One full sack or 2 half sacks against the Raiders offensive line. Sold. Done. So let me repeat this. Jimmy Garoppolo, less than 252.5 passing yards. Jameson Williams, more than 26.5 receiving yards. Aiden Hutchinson, more than 3/4 of 1 sack. I've seen 1 sack from Aiden Hutchinson tonight. That's my Prize Pick square.
My only concern is the Jameson Williams pick because I'm looking at his game logs. And
he had 0 last weekend.
He was targeted 6 times in the passing game. So those are probably little dump offs. It's not like they're running a lot of plays for him to go deep. The week prior, though, he broke one. He had a 45-yarder, so he had it all in one play. But the week prior to that, he only had 2 yards receiving on 3 targets. So he's kind of all or nothing. So you're really hinging on that.
Yeah, I'm getting all tonight from him. We're getting all.
All right. I like this bet. Yeah. I think it's a good pick. Good entry.
I like it. Thank you. All right, guys. We'll be back on Friday. We're going to do a little different. We're going to have a guest. Matt's going to text me the picks. So we're going to do a little bit different than usual, but we're going to make it work without Matt. I'm still holding out hope he's going to be on Friday. I've been trying to tell him, Gabe, that he doesn't have much to do. It's nothing to do as a newborn father. He has an hour for me on Friday for the podcast. No?
I would argue that it's the only thing you have the first few weeks, assuming, let's make sure everything goes okay for him and his wife
Yes.
and newborn. But if you're lucky enough to have a little support around you, some family or friends who can help you out, a wife who's feeling okay, a child who's healthy, if all those things line up, you've got all the time in the world to sit around talking about football picks. But the guy's not working, so give him a break. You have to bring in a sub.
We'll be fine. We'll make it work. Good luck, Matt and Ivy, tonight. We'll be back on Friday, everyone. Take care.